It's time to awaken, my dear. The absence of spirituality in the modern world has placed humanity in a position of complete vulnerability. We work without purpose, give opinions without reflection, walk without direction, and most alarmingly, think without criteria. Let me warn you, true courage is not abandoning an ethical code merely out of blind impulse, but rather the ability to build a set of rules, principles, values, and behavior patterns that give meaning to your path. Get ready to discover the 10 commandments of Stoicism that can transform your life. Stay until the end of this video to learn each one of them and how to apply them in your everyday life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with those who also seek growth and wisdom. Let's spread this powerful message to more people and change lives. There was a time when I was a naive dreamer, easily swept away by circumstances and a lack of direction. I still vividly remember the mistakes I made when I distanced myself from theocentrism, abandoning the pillars that had given meaning to my existence until then. Without a moral or spiritual compass, I was cast into a deep void that consumed me. I found myself facing an abyss of despair where everything seemed uncertain. I didn't know why I was here, who or what had placed me in this world, nor what was expected of me. Life, once full of promises, became a jumble of unanswered questions. But I was reborn. Not because I returned to religion, but because I found something that restored my purpose, something that gave new structure to my life and brought meaning where before there was only chaos: Stoicism. This ancient yet profoundly practical philosophy showed me a way to transform disorder into order and uncertainty into clarity. The urgency to reorganize my life and give purpose to my actions became impossible to ignore. Thus, I adopted new maxims, principles that guide my existence and that allowed me not only to regain my strength but also to inspire thousands of people to do the same. Today, I share these discoveries with you, hoping they can transform your life as they have transformed mine. In the days of the Roman Empire, after every victory, the eyes of the people turned to the triumphant general, who led a mighty army, filled with glory, honor, and prestige. Yet, amidst the euphoric cheers, a quiet voice, that of an anonymous assistant, whispered to the commander, "Remember, you too will die." This reminder, often bitter, resonates like an echo in the words of Seneca. Let us live as if today is the last day of our lives. Not only in moments of celebration, but also in the deepest despair, we need this reminder. We waste our existence ignoring the most obvious certainty: mortality. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let the mere fact that you may cease to exist now determine what you think, say, and do." Memento mori, remember death, is an invitation to reflect and meditate on life. For it is precisely this awareness that gives meaning, priority, and perspective to our time. When we fill our minds with the notion of finitude, time ceases to be merely a passage. It becomes a gift, a treasure. And once we accept our mortality, it is time to return to life, valuing each moment with intensity and purpose. This story leads us to ancient Rome, where a humble mirror craftsman devoted his life to creating reflections that not only revealed the physical image but also reflected the soul. When asked by a young customer about his passion, he replied firmly, "Amor fati." It was not by chance, but because I dedicated myself to this path. My work is a reflection of the mission that destiny gave me. This is the true essence of Stoicism: to accept fate with serenity and embrace life in its entirety, recognizing that it is composed not only of moments of joy and success but also of challenges and adversities. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we have complete power over how we react to these situations. By accepting the flow of life with its nuances, we are invited to cultivate an attitude of love and gratitude, even in difficulties, for they are the ones that shape and teach us. With this philosophy, we are called to live fully and consciously, taking advantage of every experience, whether positive or negative, as an opportunity for growth. Stoicism encourages us to learn from every lesson life provides, developing a mindset of resilience, wisdom, and self-control. Thus, instead of being mere observers of our own existence, we are challenged to become the protagonists of our journey, shaping our path with conscious choices, grounded in the principles of virtue, self-care, and inner harmony. Only by adopting this stance can we truly achieve peace of mind and live a more meaningful life, aligned with the deepest values of our human nature. It is essential for people to develop genuine and solid self-esteem, and this begins with the constant and reflective practice of self-criticism. Self-criticism is not about punishing or belittling oneself, but rather an exercise in honesty and self-knowledge that allows for personal growth. Human beings, by nature, tend to overestimate their virtues and underestimate their flaws, creating a distorted view of themselves. This behavior is even more evident when it comes to judging others. We often exaggerate the faults of others and minimize their qualities, reinforcing our own distorted perception of reality. This tendency hinders growth and the development of real, healthy self-esteem. One of the most valuable skills someone can cultivate is the ability to assess oneself with accuracy and sincerity, without falling into the traps of self-delusion. This means looking within oneself with clarity, recognizing both the strengths that should be celebrated and the areas that need improvement. Moreover, it is crucial to identify the aspects that require evolution, as it is only by recognizing these aspects that one can unlock true human potential. By becoming aware of your limitations and working to improve them, you are creating a solid foundation for authentic, lasting self-esteem that doesn't depend on external approval, but on your own ability to evolve constantly. Many people resist the idea of self-assessment for fear that it will lead to self-deprecation. However, recognizing and refining our limitations does not mean belittling ourselves with cruel judgments. On the contrary, accepting our mistakes is the most effective way to achieve constant and gradual improvement. As Epictetus wisely pointed out, just like the bunch of grapes or the fig, excellence does not arise out of nothing. Whoever wishes to harvest a fig must first allow the fig tree to bloom, water it, and wait for the fruit to ripen. Seneca, one of the great figures of Stoicism, had unlimited access to wealth and pleasures due to his position as an advisor to Emperor Nero. However, power did not lead him to extravagance or wastefulness. With admirable prudence, Seneca warned Nero, "It is in times of security that we must prepare for future adversities." He believed that, in moments when fortune smiles upon us, we must strengthen ourselves for when it turns its back. His recommendation was simple: reserve a few days each month to practice poverty. Experiencing scarcity, dressing in simple clothes, feeling hunger, and working hard was not an act of self-sabotage, but a preparation to face the primary enemy of humankind, adversity. Seneca warned that excessive comfort is a form of slavery, as it conditions people to a constant fear of losing what they have. The only certainty in life is that, for every stroke of luck, there will be a moment of difficulty. Therefore, it is wise to adopt frugality as a habit, live with the essentials, and accept that both good and bad times are as fleeting as life itself. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, advocated that sobriety and serenity should be achieved through equanimity in the face of pleasure and pain. A man controls the world when he learns to control himself, he said. It is within this context that the concept of apatheia arises, a mental state where a person remains free from emotional disturbances. It is important to distinguish apatheia from apathy. The first does not mean the absence of emotions, but rather balance. It involves understanding, accepting, and managing emotions without being overwhelmed by them. In modern psychology, apatheia can be associated with intrapersonal intelligence, while apathy reflects indifference and disconnection. Critics of Stoicism often misinterpret this principle, believing it advocates the suppression of emotions. Nothing could be further from the truth. For Stoics, the wise do not negate their emotions but transform them. Fear becomes prudence, error becomes learning, pain becomes growth, anger becomes motivation, uncertainty becomes curiosity, and desire becomes initiative. Emotional volatility should be proportional to the unpredictability of external events. Just as nature gifts us with moments of celebration and anguish without warning, the best strategy is to control euphoria in times of glory and limit melancholy during crises. As Aristotle once stated, virtue lies in the balance, in the midpoint between emotional excess and deficiency. Sobriety, serenity, and emotional balance are the pillars for facing life's ups and downs with wisdom. In Book 6 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius discusses the practice of meditation as a therapeutic and enlightening habit for the mind. However, it is important to note that his approach bears little resemblance to modern meditation techniques. For the emperor, meditation was an act of deep connection with the universal matter and recognition of the interdependence of all things, an idea also advocated by Stoics like Zeno of Citium. According to him, thinking that we are separate from others is an illusion created by human perception. Everything in the universe is interconnected, forming an intrinsic harmony and unity. Marcus Aurelius illustrated this concept with the analogy, "What is bad for the hive is bad for the bee." Even though the negative effects may not always be immediately apparent, ignoring this principle is a mistake. When one suffers, we all suffer, because we are part of a single organism. Humans constantly struggle with themselves, because they have not yet understood this unity. The solution, according to the Stoics, is simple: develop empathy and solidarity. The term sympathy, derived from the Greek sympathia, to suffer together, refers to the ability to share emotions with others. For the Stoics, this was divided into two aspects: cognitive empathy, which understands others' emotions, and affective empathy, which aligns them with our own emotional state. Stoic philosophy advocates that understanding and empathizing with others is fundamental to both collective and individual well-being. Plato also encouraged adopting a broad panoramic view of life. Marcus Aurelius expanded on this idea, suggesting that we should look at the world as a whole, from births and deaths to the simplest and most complex movements of life. This bird's-eye view allows us to see our own insignificance in the cosmos and reminds us that everyday problems, expectations, and human vanities are fleeting. As Pierre Jadet said, gaining perspective changes how we value things. It reduces the importance we place on luxuries, fame, and power, revealing the insignificance of such concerns. For the Stoics, recognizing our smallness is an essential step toward achieving moral neutrality, a concept that separates human actions, which can be good or bad, from external events, which are morally neutral. Although initially difficult to accept, this idea is based on the premise that events like natural disasters or losses do not, in themselves, carry evil. Epicurus said, "Things are not good or bad in themselves, but by the way we interpret them." Thus, by viewing challenges as opportunities to practice patience, tolerance, and other virtues, we transform obstacles into tools for growth. Marcus Aurelius summarized this idea in a striking phrase: "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." After all, we cannot change what happens, but we can choose how to interpret and respond to what occurs. It is this perspective that shapes the way we conduct our actions and determines the impact events will have on our lives. It is not a stone in the way, it is the way itself. In his discourse on tranquility, Epictetus offers valuable advice. Litigants should remember that, no matter how much they have trained their persuasive abilities, they will not always convince judges and senators. This raises a central question: to what extent is changing someone else's opinion within our control? A wise Stoic would focus on refining their speech, better organizing their arguments, and inspiring the audience to reconsider their positions. However, they would never attribute success or failure to the final outcome of the lawsuit. The focus should be exclusively on actions within our sphere of influence. Even if the outcome lies in the hands of the judge, no one can take away from the litigant their control over their thoughts, desires, and attitudes. If internal management is strong, no external circumstance can shake their values, beliefs, or behaviors. The universe may decide whether the effort will bear fruit, but it can never prevent someone from planting the seed. Cicero illustrates this idea with a clear example. An archer can train tirelessly, choose the best bow and arrow, take care of their equipment, and maintain maximum concentration when shooting. But once the arrow is released, their control ends. A gust of wind may alter the trajectory, or the target may move, especially if it is an enemy soldier or a swift animal. Therefore, the Stoics considered it absurd to tie an archer's self-esteem or worth to the success or failure of the shot. The essential thing is to focus on what is within our control. If something does not depend on us, lamenting or despairing brings no practical benefit. This is the essence of the dichotomy of control, which can be summarized in Epictetus' phrase: "If I am to die, I will die when it is time. But since the time has not yet come, I will eat because I am hungry." Cicero's speeches also warn about the importance of observing friends and family whose behavior is tied to moral vices. Sometimes, it is necessary to choose between distancing oneself from bad influences to progress or staying close to them for the need for acceptance. However, there is no trade more disadvantageous than sacrificing progress for a fleeting love that leads to permanent stagnation. Many people may argue that tolerating someone's flaws is not a big issue. The response, however, is, it depends. Tolerance and assertiveness are indispensable tools in human relationships. But, as Aristotle said, everything has its limits. Continuously living with disrespectful, malicious, or toxic individuals can have a very high emotional cost. Seneca emphasized that morally blaming those who choose to limit harmful influences is a sign of ignorance. When we realize that someone is hindering our growth and there is no prospect of change, the best decision, for both ourselves and them, is to reduce interaction or say goodbye. After all, as the saying goes, tell me who you walk with, and I will tell you who you are. Now, let's connect the concepts presented with their fundamental principles. The 10 Commandments of Stoicism. First commandment, awareness of death. Second commandment, love of fate. Third commandment, acceptance of mistakes. Fourth commandment, practice of frugality. Fifth commandment, intrapersonal intelligence. Sixth commandment, interpersonal intelligence. Seventh commandment, integral perspective. Eighth commandment, moral neutrality. Ninth commandment, internal locus of control. 10th commandment, virtuous circle. From these pillars, you build your own path. Moral evolution does not require erasing old maxims, but questioning them to decide which should remain, which should be abandoned, and which new principles should be incorporated. The ethical code of Stoicism is shaped by diverse influences. Values like forgiveness, gratitude, and treating others as we would like to be treated can coexist with the rules you choose for your life. Define your own rules, for they are the only wealth no one can take from you, even if everything else is lost. I hope you found value in this content about the 10 Commandments of Stoicism. Now, don't stop here. Continue your growth journey by watching 2 more videos I've specially selected for you. They complement everything we discussed today and will help you deepen your Stoic practice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any transformative content. See you in the next video.